Good day, good afternoon,
Hi.
good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are, whatever time it is where you're watching. Welcome to Wide Awake with Sonia Testament. How you doing, Sonia?
Oh, I'm doing okay. I'm doing
Okay.
good.
Are you like? I'll tell you what. It's weird with me. If I am doing good, I'm reluctant to say that I am
Oh,
because it's like it's like I don't know. It's like as soon as I say things are going good, then they go, you know.
it's hard.
And I don't know if that's it's me doing it to myself. I know it is. The worst thing is that most of the time we're just doing it to ourselves, aren't we? But
Yeah,
yeah. Do you
yeah.
ever feel like that?
Well, normally when I tell myself I'm doing really great and I want blue skies and sunshine and it's a wonderful day, I actually feel going through another dimension that it's a wonderful day. I mean, I don't self sabotage. I like to self sabotage the ones that are negative
Mm.
and put them into a higher reality, really. I mean, if I had it my way, I would totally wipe out all negativity. Well, maybe not all, but most of it, because we do need a little bit of something to make us want to do something. I know that sounds weird, but yeah.
I don't know. I feel like this the yin yang thing is about positive and negative a lot. So
Yeah.
if it's too much weighted one way, are you still there? Can you still hear me?
Oh yeah, I can still
'Cause I,
see
I
you,
was
hear you.
I'm all
Mm-hmm.
frozen on my
Oh
screen.
no.
I'm having nothing but problems with tech
Oh
last
no.
last few days.
Yeah, you're
It's
not frozen
um,
on my end at all. I will tell you this. I remember when I was out in the void before we got caught into this reality. There was nothing but positivity and nothing but nothing was created. There was a never ending feeling of complete wholeness and love, but nothing was created. It was a void. We hadn't created anything out there in that void. It was just empty. And what I
mm,
mean by empty is there were other energy beings, and there was like energy beings creating frequency of light. But other than that, nothing tangible or physical or wanting. No such thing as wanting. How can you want something if you don't even know you want something? I mean, does that seem strange? I know
mm,
one of the reasons we got trapped into this Archon box is because we were tricked. We wanted to be with others like ourselves because the void is so big, wide, and vast. But in this Archon being, we have learned how to manifest realities, physicalities, you name it. And I don't know if that's so bad. I mean, the negative is overboard, but because of where we landed in this archonic box, we had for the first time want, need, what can we do? It was like you have all this ability and power and didn't even know it because you didn't care. Isn't that strange?
mm. The
I mean,
I do you have you heard of Adrienne Elise?
no.
She's a astrologer, astronomer type, and she talks about um, supernova souls, like souls that have been here who are in vessels that are there's a conscious connection, so they're
Mm-hmm.
they're awake and they're much they're we could say that we're all supernova souls because we are connected and we seem a heck of a lot further along um, that learning experience than the others that are wandering around fast asleep. Um, some people say a lot of people think that they're non-player characters, and I personally I think that they're potentials. That everyone is a potential. Maybe maybe somebody isn't might not be granted a soul until later. I don't know, but because of Levette, the lady that I used to haven't seen her for ages actually. She's an astrologer as well,
Mm-hmm.
but she seems to know that, like, she knows the stars. She really does. When you listen to what she talks about, and She
Hmm.
uses stellarium to go back in time in the star maps and show how how the stars and the movement of the stars is relating to scripture, like things like that. How it all correlates. It all
I can.
correlates. It always correlates.
Okay, since you
Go on.
brought this subject up, I want to dive deep into this.
Go on.
I don't do astrology, but this is what I do know. Wasn't that long ago, I just did a video on this. Somebody had asked me a stupid little question, just one little question. And from there, boom, all this stuff started coming through. You know, we
Mm,
have all the answers inside of us. It's just, are you tapped into it? I always
mm.
think of your brain as a conduit to the ether, to source. Okay. And then, of course, your heart is the emotion, the mover. It is we are gods. Let's just say we are absolutely gods. And the God part that we have is the emotion, the mover, the creator. So I started looking into this question. Somebody asked me, what is the polar star? What is Venus? Why don't they sparkle and twinkle like the other stars? And then, oh my gosh, Richie, I found that when I looked into it, of course, you know, I'm always saying that we're in a snow globe, and this is like
Mm.
a dome. Well, it is a dome
Yeah.
over us. And I found that the North Star had a sheathing underneath of it, like crystal, and on top was like a disco ball, and it's got all these patterns inside of it. And then it moves, it moves, it moves, it moves two ways. One is that it's moving like this, but then it's always doing this too in its movement, which over time this would give you centuries, okay? But it's still the same star patterns. And then I realized that Venus is actually a huge looking like it's tech, it's geode tech. And I'm not kidding, it's geotech. And what it's doing, it's self-perpetuating energy. It's self-perpetuating itself. It's breaking itself down and rebuilding itself. And what it does is it shoots out light like a projector to the North Star, which once it hits that North Star, it's creating the light like a projector in a movie studio or like a theater room, and it's hitting that and it's creating this entire thing on the dome, like if you were sitting in a planetarium. And I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, because I've never seen this stuff before. And then I was watching who was I watching? I was watching somebody's channel. I think it was oh my god, I'm losing words here because I'm
Mine,
over
like,
it.
don't worry.
So basically I was watching this is terrible.
This person. It'll come
This
back. It'll come
person,
back.
and yeah, it'll come back. And they were talking about the Kaaba down in Mecca in Saudi Arabia. And it was like, boom, it hit me. And I was in the Kaaba. And it was actually a Vermana, Richie. They had put
You're
block
saying
over
that
it, but it's a
Venus is a
gold
Vimana.
Vermana.
What's Venus? What's the Vimana? Is Venus the Vimana, or is
No,
the North
no.
Star?
Venus is a giant tech crystalline
Project.
mechanism, a geode, like a night, like a monster geode. And that's why it's never glittering. The North Star is the projection unit, and this has all been created for this dome. These were created for the dome. That North Star, it's like cut out patterns in it, but it's more than just cut out patterns. But it's like if you took a candle holder that was metal and you cut out patterns and you stuck a candle in it and then you spun it and you would have it going on the walls, the pattern.
Mm.
That's what the North Star is, except that it's not cut out. It's actual fractal patterns. And it's weird the way it's set up. It is technology. And
Do you
so
think there's more than, because is it the twinkling that is, like you said, it's because it's a projector, and that's why it's twinkling, because it's projecting. But what
the
I've
reason
noticed
that
the last,
Venus and the North Star do not twinkle is because they're the twofold projector units. And the reason it's twinkling is Venus is sending out three beams. It looks like a black beam, a red beam, and a multi-oscillating colored beam. And it's that multi-oscillating colored beam that causes the twinkling once it hits that North Star. It's causing the twinkling because it's not a set color. It's multicolored and it's being sent over, and it makes the stars twinkle because it's like taking 1,000 colors and sending them through fast, and it's not solid, so you're seeing the differences in the colors, and
I
that's the
mean,
twinkling.
I've noticed that so you've got Orion's belt.
Mm-hmm.
Where I look at it from the sky here, it's different here to where it was back in the UK. I think because I'm closer to the equator. But Orion's belt, when it starts coming up, being visible, Orion's belt points straight down to what I thought was the North Star, which is Sirius, isn't it? Or is it because the North Star's changed? I know that the North Star was Sirius is the dog star, isn't it?
I don't
Actually,
know. I don't know
so
astrology. I never got into it. I was like, it's just holographic. Why do I care? But now I do care.
well, I always was fascinated. So I was never fascinated enough to go into it, but I was
Hmm.
always fascinated enough to always observe. And and I can remember what I could see. And it was always, I remember when I was young that the North Star was the brightest star. It was the
Because
brightest star in the sky.
it's the one that's getting the light, and from there, once it hits that, it's like a disco ball. Go into, you know
It's
how you used to go and there was a disco ball and they would shine light to it and it would be the
it's
brightest thing in the room.
well, it's a sort of a prism of type effect,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
But it's the thing is, it's definitely not the brightest star in the sky anymore. It's tiny now in comparison to Jupiter, Venus. Saturn's tiny. Mars is quite big right now.
Yeah.
Mars is
What
quite
happens
big
is
and visible.
what I noticed with the North Star, Richie, is it's done one of these. It normally runs like this, and then it did this. It's been twisted, turned. And because
Mm.
of the turning of the North Star, the moon is now flipped. Instead of being waxing and waning, left to right, right to left, it's off kilter because of the North
I
Star moving the projection. It's crazy.
so
And not only
I
that,
mean, I watched the phase it turns, and I've been
yeah.
trying to work out if it's perspective, if it's because of the perspective, because I look at where the stars are, right, at
Mhm,
say 10 o'clock at night, right? The
mhm,
stars are that I've got in front of me. I've got Orion's belt pointing down to Sirius or whatever it is, and then Mars is over here, and then I've got Saturn here and Jupiter here. Venus isn't in sight because it's late at night, and then in the morning, 4:45 in the morning, I take the dogs out, and things haven't moved as far as I'd think they have. But what has happened is everything's changed orientation,
mhm.
and it's like
That's
it's
because that
twisted.
North Star has flipped. So I was wondering for the longest time what the hell caused everything to move because we haven't moved. Of course,
Mm.
we haven't moved, but that North Star has. And because of the flipping, because it's the projector unit, now you're looking at it at a different angle and it's changed everything up in this snow globe. So I will add this too. When I was looking at that Kabah and all this stuff started coming in, and I'm like, okay, what's the Kabah about? I realized at that point, holy crap, this place is in lockdown. We have this snow globe over us, and there is a key, and the key is the Kabah. And if you, the Kabah, when I started looking into it, it has a long silver, I would call it a key. And what it is it's magnetic. It starts the magnetics in the Kabah if you put it in. But it's only half of the scenario to get the Kabah running because the whole thing is a Vermana, a gold Vermana, which works on frequency, levitation, what have you. So there's this pad thing that you stand on, and then in front on the wall is this like it looks like I swear to God, it looks like something if you were going to scan it to get the price on it. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm.
Like a scan code bar.
Barcode.
Yeah, like a barcode. So you stand there, the Vermana will send directions inside of your brain if your DNA matches, because you have to have a DNA match to make this thing work. This is how they protected the tech from anyone who wasn't responsible or intelligent enough to run these Vermonters because they are wonder machines. So if your DNA matches, which is a frequency, It would scan you, see if your DNA matches. You would get the information. You'd be standing on the pad, and then you could unlock it. So, unlocking it, first you put in the silver magnetic thing to start the magnetics running in the Vermana. Then you can unlock the pad, and then that block would blow off, and then you have a gold solid Vermana. That gold Vermana has one purpose. There were a lot of Vermanas, but this one specifically had a purpose. It goes on top of the pyramid. Once you landed on top of the pyramid, it will lock in, automatically turn on the pyramid. The pyramid would get an energetic Merkaba body from the Kaaba because it's a tech system. It would be working like this. It would send the energy straight up to the North Star. It would revert back to Venus. Venus then would unlock the entire dome with a single beam because it's a key that locks and unlocks the dome we live in. And it's like, oh my gosh. It's like, oh my gosh. Unbelievable. Now, here's the problem. I would never, ever, right now, at this point in this reality, go and unlock the dome because they have turned us into a leper colony. With all of the bioweapon shots, we are now the new leper colony. I would never, never, never unlock this dome right now.
I think it's worse than our bodies being. This isn't just about our bodies, you know, about our physical bodies, because it's like what that means in the on the grander scheme of things, and I think the worst thing about our species, if you want to call us a species, is our propensity for dark shit.
Boom.
You know,
Terrible.
against
I think
one another,
that,
against things we don't understand, and that's all born through ignorance. But it's, you know, animals aren't capable of evil. Only men are. Only men and women are.
yeah.
And we attribute that to that. We say, oh, if there's alien races, then they could be good or evil. But the
I
good
will
or evil thing, I think, only exists in this realm because of.
Go ahead, Richie.
Go on.
I
No,
just
go
want
on.
to say this. Alien races, you know, all things are us. We were the base of everything, Richie. It was called chimeering, but we are
Yeah,
the
we
base
talked about
of
this before,
everything.
didn't we? Where they're
Yes.
what they're doing is they're observing from the future,
Mm-hmm.
because we were the start. They're branched off from this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, and I've been saying that we're just one little place on the bigger entire Earth, cosmic egg. And we're trapped into this little dome, and most people don't even know any of this. This is why you have the flat earthers that know everything in here is flat. Of course it is, because we're in a dome, we're in one of those crater things, and yeah, every water level's off, everything is flat. They've done test after test to prove that this place you could take a laser beam, shoot it from one point to another point, and it's a straight line. And if we really did have this curvature, you wouldn't be able to do that. I mean, oh no.
I mean, well, it's like how we know that if it was a globe of the circumference that they say it is, there would be a measurable curvature there.
Yeah,
There
and
has
it's
to
not.
come a point. There has to come a point where it, you know, if I've said it could be a globe that is just so infinitely bigger than you could even imagine, that it's just this little section that we're on.
Yeah,
This
we're in
little
a
section that
tiny
we're
ass
on
little
is flat.
section.
But
We've been so conquered as a people. I do know that we came out from under the ground from the last reset. The ones that didn't go under the ground were definitely the dark skinned, olive skinned, dark eyed people. But the Caucasians literally came from under the ground because, these resets keep happening because we're not getting it. We're not learning. And because of it, we keep getting corrupted because the one thing humanity needs to learn as a species is to learn how to say no more. I'm not doing this. I don't believe you. I'll believe myself. I'll stand up for what I believe in and stop doing what's easy. Every time humanity does what's easy, and that's complying, we have to go through another reset, start all over again. It's terrible.
But, I mean, I think the reason it keeps happening, like history repeating itself, is it's a famous quote: "Those that forget their history are doomed to repeat it."
Oh,
Well, it's
yeah,
not that we've forgotten our history; we just never taught it. We were just
that's
never
it.
taught. We were never taught the truth, and
Yeah,
so it's going to keep perpetuating. Um, it's, but I don't think that the entire existence of the human race has been under this yoke.
no,
But I
no.
think that this yoke, I think that it ends up that the wrong. It's always the dark side of, or in the last 1,000 years or whatever. The the darks always managed to climb to the top because it's kept things hidden from the people that are doing it. They're keeping all this important information hidden from people.
Yeah. And just
This,
remember, the dark will do things that the light will not be willing to do. The
yeah,
dark will do things easily against its fellow man with no issues at all.
which is why I say, right, I think that basically how it speaks for my idea that we're not supposed to be all light, or we're not supposed to, because to deal with the dark, or to deal with that side of things, you need to be a little bit that way
Yeah.
inclined.
You got to find your righteous
You
anger. Where's your lion
you
inside?
you,
And a
you
lion
need
will
to
do
be
what it needs to do to
balanced,
protect itself and its clan.
which is why you need to be balanced. You need to be
Mhm,
completely in control of either side of your being, whichever
mhm.
way it is that you are. It's, people get really happy and really, everything's really great, and then they just become really super generous and stupid and let their guard down, and it
Yeah.
ends up hurting them because they're being really overly positive. It's
Yeah.
it's our job to keep that balance,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that
Yeah.
that means you got a little bit of dark inside you.
Yeah. We all do.
But you're in
I
control
got
of
it
it.
too. I mean, if my back's up against the wall, I'm coming out fighting and I'm not going to
Mm,
let you run me over and I will never comply. Watch me never comply. And I don't care if I'm against the entire whatever, I will not
mm,
comply. You couldn't make me comply because then
yeah,
I will be the lion. I mean, when that whole thing went down with the masks, I cannot tell you how many battles I took on because I refused to wear the mask and I was battling everywhere. And I don't shirk under pressure. I don't care if you call the police. I don't care what you do. I know what I am. I know what my rights are, and I have a right to be who I am, period. Because I am who
mm,
I am. And I will never comply. I mean, there's something inside of me that would be like, go ahead and try to take me down because I'll take you down with me. Don't think I won't.
yeah. I was in a frustrating situation here um, because it's not my country, it's not my, country of birth, and the laws changed because of Brexit and everything, and just because the way they deal with the law here is completely different to back in the UK, or in America. You can take a camera out and start filming a police officer, and put them on the spot. Whereas if you do that here, they'll smash your phone and beat you up
Oh my God. Well,
because
I
you're not. It's illegal to film the police.
oh my gosh, because they just make it up
So
as they go.
they are a law unto themselves.
Yeah.
They corroborate each other. You know, there'll be two of them. They'll corroborate each other. Oh yeah,
Mhm.
no, he attacked us, or his phone got damaged
Yeah.
because he tried to run, and or you know, or something like that.
Mhm.
And even and the evidence on the phone won't be admissible because it was gathered illegally because you're not allowed to film the police.
Yeah,
It's
that's just
ridiculous
yeah, that's them making laws to protect
to
themselves
protect
so that they can
themselves
perpetuate cruelty and more
because
negativity.
because basically they're not that long out from under the rule of Franco, and there's still a massive. I mean, I know people, Spanish people, that would welcome Franco back with open arms.
They're
So
going to be
that's what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with. People that actually want a totalitarian communist society. You know.
I will tell you this too, or these people that want all this negativity, how many of them went and got their bioweapon? Because they're not going to last. There is a time
Right.
split happening now, and it's a consciousness time split. And I could go
Mm,
into how the dimensions actually work. Everything is here, it's here, but it's multi-dimensioned. And it's here, through this and through your heart, because the heart is the emotion, the mover, where you will land next. That's that thing. One will be in the field, one will be taken, and one will still be standing. Do you know what that's really about? That's about in a moment you're in the next dimension because where your heart stands. And if you're in the
mm.
lower vibration, you simply won't be able to go to the next vibration, which is up higher. And for us, they will have died. For them, we will have died, or what have you. We just won't be there anymore. And we're in the
Or
cusp
perhaps
of
just
that now.
disappeared. They
Yeah,
could call it the what's it called? What's it called?
I have no idea.
The Catholics or Christians talk about it where everybody disappears.
Yeah.
The
When that disappearing happens, it's not going to be your beamed up Scotty. It's going to be basically you've actually, with the next breath, you're in the higher dimension because they're all here. It's like we're sharing the same playing field, but depending on the frequency that you are on, you will either be in this or you will be up in the higher one, and the other ones will not exist for you. And the funny thing is, nature and animals are already there. They're already having this in and out, and a lot of it. You know, have you noticed how this place is diminishing? Nature is diminishing, trees are diminishing, animals are diminishing. Where do you think all they are going? All that energy doesn't just blink out, it goes to another place, and it's already there waiting for the next reality that we will step into. It's waiting for us.
David Icke talks about. I was actually listening to him talk about it earlier this morning.
Oh,
Um,
really?
he did an interview with Chris Thrall, but he was talking about the visual, you know, the spectrum of frequencies and what we can perceive, what we're able to perceive. All we're able to perceive is the electromagnetic frequency, and we can only perceive a fraction of that
Mm-hmm.
field it's with our eyes and our ears. So what we can actually see is nothing. We're pretty much blind
Yeah.
to everything that's there, and it's occupying exactly the same space, and um that's what a lot of people can't get their heads around as well.
Yeah,
That
they can't. I've had this conversation with a lot of people, and they're like, well, how does that work? I said, with your heart. Your heart is the key to getting you through the dimensions. Where you stand in your heart, what you carry is the very frequency which will determine where you land next. We're constantly going in and out. I can't say all of us. A lot of us, like you and me, we constantly go in and out of different frequencies of reality. You might not even notice it, or you might like, oh my gosh, I feel so good today. Wow, everything's wonderful. Probably
mm,
stepped into the higher dimension. When you go down in your frequency, in your heart, whatever's going on in there, you can actually slip into a lower D. And that's like, oh God, this place sucks. It's horrible. Oh my Lord, it's terrible. Yeah. So we're going in and out of frequencies. Most of us, not all of us. Some of us are stuck in a low frequency and won't get out. The ones who live in a state of fear, the ones who think they need to have somebody run them around with a chain on the neck, yeah, they're stuck in the lower frequency and they're not going to make this next leap. And it is a leap. It is a very small leap, but it might as well be as big as, I don't know, Mount Everest to the ones in the lower frequency. For us, it's just the next breath. I have
Mm.
gone in and out of dimensions. Like I even did it with Wendy when I was telling you about that, where our time stopped. Yeah, we
Yeah.
kept going.
Yeah.
And it's like you don't even know you have done it, but then all of a sudden things are not quite the same. Like the animals and the vegetation, it's so much better. And it's like, well, how did this happen? What?
Mm.
So yeah, it's very interesting. I'm so ready to go into the higher D and actually stay there. But I do know that your avatar has to change. You have to level up your DNA with frequency. And at that
That
point, you will stay.
and the thing is, we've all got what they call dormant DNA.
Oh yeah,
Only
98% of
only
it.
yeah, 98% of the DNA is
Yeah,
dormant. Well, that's obviously that's why I say that we're all potential. We're all potential energy, like in that sense, because if everybody's got this dormant DNA, that it just requires that DNA to be activated. But maybe it's only through personal growth that you know that DNA activates. So when you go on that hero's journey and you start searching for the truth and searching for answers, then maybe the DNA starts activating. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. I just know that for me, of course, I was born this way. So I keep thinking I came in here to do something, and now I know what can you imagine living your entire life and you know you're here to do something, and it isn't until you hit your later years and scenarios happen and you're like, oh, this is what I was meant to do, but you never knew exactly what it was, but you were going to do something that was going to change the reality of everyone, because it only takes a seed, a thought, a moment, and then it'll spread like the 100 monkey effect. And if you change this thought, it changes everything
Mm.
in that next moment. Hmm.
I think one of the obstacles or blockages for a lot of people, probably for myself, definitely would be um, trust. Like being able to trust, being able to trust what the messages or whatever.
Yeah,
Not second guessing things,
yeah.
because I'm always second guessing everything. Um,
That would be a big one. Learning to trust yourself. You do not
mm,
have to trust others, but you need to trust yourself. You need to trust your gut instinct. You need to trust yourself and you need to believe in yourself. And that is a big one because I've had this conversation because I Skype with people. And the biggest
mm,
thing is they can never trust themselves because they were trained never to trust themselves. They were trained to second guess themselves. Your first initial anything is usually dead on. And then you'll go back and you'll be like, well, but this and that and this and that. And then you'll change your opinion. And guess what? It'll burn you every time because you should have believed yourself to begin with.
mm. I mean, I definitely trust my instincts in certain areas. Like
Hmm.
with people and stuff. If I get a strong feeling about somebody, I know I can always trust that. I can always trust my gut instincts on people and situations and um but yeah, it's I don't know, sometimes messages and stuff, um or what I would consider downloads,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
that's where it's is it myself or is it one of these cheeky monkeys,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
pretending to be, or and it's so yeah, that's where I stumble probably.
Yeah. Well,
But
you're not alone. There's a lot of people. I think this is the number one problem with our species.
mm,
And it's to trust and believe in yourself. And it's to trust that you do know the answers. And you're right. You hit it right on the head. The nail, boom, there it is. Because I've had even this conversation with my daughters, and they're like, well, they're second guessing themselves. I'm like, stop second guessing yourself. Just know it in your heart. It is what it is. And then do what you got to do. And yeah, it's a big one. I mean, can you imagine? We're always told, you have to do this and do that and re-examine everything. Why? Why can't you have the first thing that comes to you, like when you first meet somebody and you have this first overall opinion about them or a feeling or what have you? Why must you dismiss that? Why can't you believe yourself? Why? Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we
because we're
get
told, don't ever judge anybody. Don't judge a book by its cover. Really? One of our senses in our sixth sense is to immediately walk into the field of another and you just know. Why does somebody have an aura field that you can walk into so you know where they stand?
well, I mean, I guess that's where the never judge a book by its cover does sort of it has it has meaning because you can actually you can see somebody across the street and look at them and think, oh, that look, they look like a ne'er do well or it's a tramp or something. But then if you actually go and engage with that person, you
Mm-hmm.
get a completely different sense of who that person is.
I always say step into someone's aura field. An aura field can go out 50 feet, but most of the
Mm,
time it's like maybe about this much around you because people have shrunk
mm.
it in because they've shrunk themselves in so they don't have to participate with other beings around them. Because if your aura field is stretched out to 50 feet, you're basically feeling into everybody in that circumference. And it's uncomfortable for most people because they can't even handle their own selves, let alone other personalities. So,
Especially if they're not aware that that's what they're doing as well, and they
right,
think
right,
they think that these feelings that they're feeling are their own.
right. And it might
Where
not be. It very
days
well be from them.
when they're feeling really confused, or conflicted or anxious, and then they can't really think of a reason why, and it's because they're picking it up from somebody else's aura field,
Yeah,
somebody around them,
yeah.
somebody close to them, or somebody that
I
they're connected to.
Richie, I literally let my aura field go out 50, 100, 200 feet because I want to infect everyone with waking up.
Mm.
And wake up means wake up to who you really are. And I really want this to happen. I want my biggest thing in this reality is you wake up to who you really are. If nothing else, at least that is the biggest foothold in this reality. Wake up to who you really are. Stop buying into the
and
BS. And who are you really?
and that's I think it's mentioned in scripture, and it's mentioned. I forget who it is that says it. Know thyself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's one of the most important things to know thyself, know who you are, know yourself.
Absolutely.
Know,
You'd be
know,
surprised how many people think they're their job or think that they're
mm,
money and think that they're their car or whoever they're married to or their children or
well,
their house or the da, da, da,
they
da,
are,
da, da,
they are
da.
right. And so this is another thing that David Icke was talking about. David Icke, man, lots of people have got different opinions about him. I'm I'm pissed off with him because like he's controlled opposition, but a lot of what he says is he hits the nail absolutely on the head. It's just there's certain things that he should talk about and he doesn't. And he stays right away from them. But he was saying about how people do that. They identify as one of the labels that we get. There are millions of labels out there, and what they're currently doing now is they're subdividing all the categories into smaller and smaller labels, and people are grabbing the labels and sticking them on themselves and saying, I am a pansexual. That's me. That's my identity. I'm pansexual.
I don't
I,
even know what
I
that means.
identify as a dog. I identify as a dog. I am a dog, and my pronouns are and you know, and getting people to identify as something when in reality your consciousness is infinite. You know, the expanse of it could be infinite. It's
Mhm,
whatever your perception allows it to be. This is what
mhm.
pisses me off about. I don't know how long he's actually been used because I don't bother to watch a lot of his stuff. But David Icke,
I don't watch
I know
anyone.
how long. I don't know how long he's been using the term, like speaking about perception specifically. But what I heard him saying today was exactly what I've been saying for the last 4 years, and I didn't listen to David Icke to say it. I was saying it anyway. Perception. It's all about perception.
Mhm.
Everything that happens in this reality is dependent on your perception and
Yeah.
how you perceive what's going on. And that,
You know what they do, Richie? I don't mean to cut
mm.
you off, but let me just say
No,
this real
you're
quick.
right. You're right.
Uh, Control mechanisms.
Mm.
They sit around and they think, how can we control you without you realizing you're being controlled? First, they introduced money so they didn't have to slave you and put you in chains, and then your chain is now the money system because
But to
it's
do
too
that,
taxing to do that.
they had
So
to they
first
had to
they have us
create
in
your
chains.
perception. They had
Yeah.
to create
First
your
they,
perception of what money was, didn't they?
yeah.
They had to
Well,
make
if you
everybody
here's
perceive that money
yeah,
had value.
if you're gonna change somebody and make them do something for you, you're not gonna get the best quality out. So you take
Yeah.
the chains away, you introduce a new chain, money. Now they're introducing a new chain. Okay, so money's not really working anymore. Let's do something else. Labels. You are your label. It's another control mechanism. Oh, you have value because you're this label. So it went from chains to coin to labels. It's all control mechanisms. This is why
Yeah.
I say, everyone, you need to find out what you really are, who you really are, what are you really in? Because all of this is mental mind control. And they sit around and think of new ways to control you where you don't even know you're being controlled because you're an idiot.
I think probably what a lot of people struggle with is like, well, if I'm not so and so the you know telephone control operator or whatever, who am I and what am I and who am I
Yeah,
really when it boils down to it individually, who are we? Because we've been brainwashed for so long to believe that we're nothing really
why
in the
do you
grand
think
scheme
when
of
you
things.
first go to
All these,
school, what do you want to be? You want to be a fireman? You want to be a nurse? You want to be this? Is this what you are? Who you are?
yeah.
How about I don't want to be any of those things? I want to be myself. And screw you. Don't
And
tell
what
me what to do.
and so what is yourself? Like what is yourself? That's the how do you define it? Well, you can't define it as one thing, can you?
That's it.
You
I
say,
am
well,
who I am.
I'm
That is what I am.
creative. I'm creative, artistic, um, emotional, you know,
Mm,
but to whittle it all down to one thing, we in the society that we live in, people specialize in things, don't they, to be able, and it's all it is at the end of the day is to make coin,
that's it.
to be able to buy crap
Yeah.
because and also because they made food a commodity. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't say that food was a God-given right.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, as a created being on this earth, food is a God-given right because it grows in abundance
Mm-hmm.
naturally without us farming it. It grows in abundance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so mine's just gone.
Okay, well, I will
Mine,
tell you this since your mind went that way.
yeah.
One of the reasons they chemtrail is to destroy nature. If you destroy nature, you're dependent upon all things: food, water,
I mean,
nurturing,
if they've
homes, you name
decided
it.
they've decided now with all these fake meats and fake processed food and everything, they've
Horrible.
decided that this
Synthetic food.
this 1% of 1% has decided that, you know, the Carl Schwab lot have decided that actually we can exist on insects
Ugh,
and
you can't digest that
um,
stuff. It's toxic. You can't digest
insects
an
and
extraskeletal shell.
yeah. I mean, well, I don't know. To an extent, I actually I think it's possible to. I think it's possible to live on insects. It's just not very nice.
I will tell
It's
you
not a
this.
very
There are
nice thing.
things in insects that our body cannot digest, and it'll literally kill us if we eat it. And that's the shell of it's so toxic to the human body. You might as well just go eat some rat poison to be faster because you'll die slowly. It'll damage your organs, it'll damage your intestines, it'll damage you. And this is the point, isn't it?
I've
To damage you.
I've got yeah, I've got to say I don't agree with that. I think that maybe if they're not natural insects or something, that maybe if insects aren't a natural thing on this earth, then maybe. But I think if insects are part of they're part of creation, they're part of the cycle of create because they're food for the animals.
Mhm.
Um, and they like they don't their shells and everything don't contain poisons.
Well, think of it like
Like
this, Richie. Animals can eat a lot of things we cannot because we don't have the digestion for it. Think about the
mm,
birds that can consume poisonous berries. We eat them and we're dead. Or think about some of the animals that can eat even I don't know, a nut off of a tree. What do they call those? The nuts that fall off the oak trees. They call those
oh,
uh,
acorns.
acorns. They have tannin in it, and the tannins we can't digest it. That's like eating arsenic poison to us. You know, these animals and these birds have completely different digestive systems than we do, which is why they can
Mm.
get away with eating things that would kill us. Which is why they can eat some of the insects because they have a different digestive tract. We don't have it.
I mean, but I the last 3 years has shown me that food isn't. They've been lying about food. What like they've been lying every but Sunday about the food. We don't need what they like the whole food pyramid thing. There's upside
Oh
down.
no, that thing's a lie.
Um,
That thing's made up to harm you. I'm going to
yeah,
tell you right now, the best thing we can put into our body is fruits, berries, and some vegetables. Not even all of them, because of the lectins in them. Like the peanut, it's not even a nut. A nut, it's a legum.
it's a
Think about
legume.
Yeah, and think about everything in the nightshade family. That's potatoes, tomatoes, eggplants, bell peppers. These have high lectins in them too. Now you can do certain things to these, like you could skin a potato because most of the lectins are in the skin. For a bell pepper, you need to roast it, get the skin off, get the seeds
Funny,
out.
my mum always used to make me eat the skin of a
No, no,
jacket
no. That
potato
stuff is
because
toxic poison.
it had all the best bits in it. That's where all the goodness was in the skin.
Yeah, to
So
kill
she
you
used to say,
faster. And for a tomato, you need to not eat the skin either. So you need to put it in really hot, hot water to get that skin off and take the seeds out because the lectins are in the seeds and the skin. The lectins are like razor blades in your intestines, slicing your intestine open. Your intestine is only 1 cell thick. Think your skin is 7 cells thick. You have 7 epidermis levels. Your intestines have one. And it's so easy to slice your intestine to get that leaky gut syndrome. Once you have leaky gut syndrome, you're pretty much in a shit shape because that means everything is leaking out into your body and making you toxic. So this is why they
I mean,
modified the corn. This is why they modified most of our fruits and vegetables to be toxic to us. The GMOing, it's terrible. We have to learn how to re-eat that stuff, and some stuff we have no business ever putting in our mouth. Cashews. Cashews are so high in lectins, you should never put a cashew in your mouth. Yet they're sold like it's a nut, like an edible nut. When you go to a cashew farm and you listen to the people complaining that they were taking them out of these pods and there's acid in there burning their hands off, should you be eating that? Well, no, because it's so high in lectins that the cashew alone will, take your intestinal tract out. And then peanuts, they're the same thing with the high lectins. That stuff is toxic poison. Yet we're giving it as peanut butter. We're giving it as a nut. It's not even a nut.
I
And
thought it
it
was
just goes on and on.
because peanuts have got cyanide in them, haven't they? And the seed of a peanut is in the nut, but that's where the cyanide is, and in that it's a little tiny little nib in it at the top of the peanut.
Oh
Because,
boy,
like you said, a peanut isn't a nut; it's a legume,
it's a
and
legume.
it contains a seed. It contains a seed. It's just that people think it's a nut because it's so hard, and
Yeah,
legumes are normally soft. But no,
yeah,
it's a legume, and it's a hard legume,
yeah.
raw,
All I
basically.
know is we need to learn how to eat our food because one of the things they did was they took us down. We are what we eat. So they took us down on a you are what you eat level first. That's before they even started GMOing the food and taking out the vital nutrients. So like a
Trouble is,
carrot a day.
people can't trust now what hasn't got GMO in. Like even
Yeah,
a lot of the organic stuff is contaminated somewhere along the way by
yeah,
GMO. And
yeah,
like with corn, um, with is it wheat that has got
yeah. We used to
gluten?
have something called
Wheat
bulgur
contains
wheat.
gluten,
Yeah,
but wheat contains gluten, doesn't it?
We
Go
used
on.
to have bulgur wheat hundreds of years ago. We had something called bulgur wheat, and it was extremely nutritious for us. Well, they had to get rid of that, so then they went to the
Yeah,
wheat that we have today, and it's not the
which is
same wheat.
GMO'd.
Yes, it is.
They have forever changed the genetic code of wheat.
Yeah,
That's what I heard. That so wheat
yeah,
will never ever. Maybe they've got some original wheat in the Norwegian seed vault. Maybe they've got some there, but they're no longer anywhere in production is any wheat like we used to have, and that's why so many people are coming up with celiac disease and
yeah,
gluten intolerance
yeah.
because
I mean,
it's because of this.
with the nasty GMOing, it was another further takedown of humanity. I mean, do you realize we're like cockroaches? They can't kill us. They have worked and worked and worked diligently to take us out, and we keep readjusting. We keep
I don't. I
overcoming.
don't
Not
think
all
it's
of
in
us,
their.
but most of us.
I don't think it's in their interest to wipe us out. They just want to keep us at a manageable level.
Well, yeah,
And
that's why they always have that.
I don't believe the population. I don't believe there's 8 billion people on this
No,
earth. I don't believe that.
no, no.
But whatever there is, there's more than there were, and it's more than they can deal with. It's more than they
Yeah,
can control.
yeah. We are the many, they are the few. But
Except we are not the many. That's the trouble. The
yeah.
people like ourselves and people that are
Mhm.
watching, we're well, it
We're the
seems to
minority.
be
We are the
it seems to
minority.
be that we're a minority. But what if we're not? What if we're not a minority? What if we are actually still a majority and there's not even that many people on the earth?
That would be wonderful. Which is
Except it
why,
would mean that all it would need is like everybody to realize that.
yeah,
Because we're holding ourselves back, thinking that we're the minority and there's so many more of them, and we've got all these minds we've got to wake up, and we're holding ourselves back. But
yeah,
we're putting all these obstacles in front of us when, in actual fact, maybe we've already actually, you know, imagine that there's 144 million of us, and there's
uh-huh,
only 20,000 of them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. One of the main reasons they didn't want anyone to wake up is because it wouldn't really take a lot to wake the rest of them up. Now, there is a majority that will never wake up because they don't want to. They simply refuse to wake up because
I think it's
that's not
because
ever
it's
going
not
to be
their
a part of
time.
their, yeah,
I
they
think it's
just,
because it's not their time. They're not
yeah.
ready.
No, they
You know,
really aren't ready. Have you ever come across people, and I know you have, where you're like, oh my God, you're like an infant. You know nothing. You're like a complete infant. You know
got
nothing.
yeah, and you're 50 years old.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I have come
My dad.
across so many people, and I go to talk to them, and like out in my reality, not when I Skype. The people I Skype with are already on a much higher, level of intelligence.
Yeah,
And I go out and I start talking to some of these people, and the things that they say, I'm like, you're a tiny ass child. You're older than me, but your mentality is of a child's mentality. And it's unbelievable.
but
I mean, I find
that's
myself
the
stunned.
majority. That is the majority mindset of because that's the mindset of the people that are in positions of power over us.
Hmm.
People, heads of state and authoritative figures, the police. Um, I can't speak for the army, but the police certainly what I've seen. Politicians, um, even businessmen and
Yeah.
corporate people, all these people that are in positions of power and influence, moving vast sums of money and having control over land and habitation and stuff for people. They
Yeah.
are children.
Yeah.
They
They're
are
like tiny ass
infantile,
children.
like juveniles. They're like
Yeah.
juveniles. I watched and shout out to J Dreamers because it was because of J Dreamers I watched it. I watched 3,000 Years of Longing. Have you seen
Never
it?
heard of it. No.
Came out it came out earlier this year, and it's about this woman, and she goes to a conference in the Middle East, and she buys a bottle that she dug out in this knick-knack shop, in the bazaar, and
Mhm.
she was cleaning the bottle, and the top broke off, and a genie comes out. A genie is a jinn, obviously. This
Yeah.
jinn comes out,
Yeah.
and it's the story of her and this jinn, and it's him telling the stories of his previous, because he's been incarcerated in the bottle, and to get free of the bottle, he has to grant 3 wishes. But each time he's only granted 1 wish or 2 wishes, and he keeps getting locked back in the bottle, and then he ends up with this woman. She's famous. There's a Constantine. Have you seen Constantine
Um,
with Keanu Reeves?
is that
Plays
an
the
old
angel
movie?
Constantine.
New movie?
No, but she plays the angel Gabriel in that, and she's in Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. But it's a really, really um, it's a really cool story because it gives a little bit of backstory about the jinn. The jinn were created before. If you go into Islam, the jinn were created before the humans from smokeless fire, and they had free will, um, as opposed to the angels who didn't have free will. And I think there's a lot of truth in this movie because they talk about basically how we're children, all of us, we're children
Mhm.
because beings used to live on this earth. We used to live a lot longer than we do now. But
I will tell you too, Richie, that not all of us are children. Some of us came into this to make a difference, to give a helping hand, to be a teacher. And we're not really a
no,
part of the
what I
collective.
mean, no. What I mean is, it, every single one of us, our ego, every one of us, our ego is a little child. Doesn't matter if you're 60 years old, 70, or 20. Your ego, which is confined to your body, which only has the experience in this one existence, in this one in this one incarnation. I can only speak for the last 45 years of my life. Anything else is imagination. It might be, it might be. I might be getting information from previous lives or whatever, but it's my ego that's interpreting that as well all the time. It's my ego that's driving. It's the driving seat, or you say it's your ego or your ID.
Mhm.
It's the programmed controller of the vessel. The soul and the spirit are not the same as the ego, and that's what so the ego is a child, will always be a child. Maybe the ego used to get to live for 900 years, back in the days of Noah lived to 700 and whatever it was. And so maybe the ego used to get to live for 700 years. So if we compare ourselves to even then, we're children. At 45 years old, I'm a child. If
Oh yeah.
2,000 years ago or 3,000 years ago we lived for 900 years, I'm a bloody infant, and that's
Why do
the,
you
the,
think we keep
but
getting why do you think we keep getting wiped every time we go from this reality and then have to start over? Because can you imagine if what we know now is just in the first 40, 50 years, what will we know in the next 200 years, 300 years? This is why they diminished our life and keep wiping us, wiping us, wiping us, because we are, after all, infinite gods. And only the way to control a god is to keep taking what it knows away from it and make it start over. It's like building a house of cards and then coming by and hitting it. Now start over. Now start over. Now start over. And wiping us because of our capability of what we can do.
so the language that we use when we talk about these things is weaponized, obviously, and and then it triggers certain people, Christians particularly, being
Yeah.
Christians and Muslims, and Jews. It triggers them when we talk about
We
being
are.
gods within this realm. Um,
Mhm.
a lot of them, in their complete ignorance and unwillingness to open their mind to what we're actually saying,
Mhm.
they think that, we I'm saying that I am God. I am God here in this realm. I am God. It's hard to get them to understand what, like, I've got a friend who's a Jehovah's Witness, and I've
Mhm.
basically got him to admit, I've got him to agree, absolutely agree with me, that we are small version. We were made in God's image, according to the um, you know to the scriptures. We were made in God's image. We're fractals of God.
That's
We've all
right.
got God
Absolutely.
inside us. If we accept Him, if we welcome Him, we accept. We've all got God inside us, so I think that we're sort of gods with a small g.
Yeah.
Where and there's it's like this whole idea of hegemony, um, of the US having complete hegemony over commerce and everything, with the petrodollar and all of that. They want to be the biggest and the best and the strongest, and there's to be one, really, there's got to be the big brother kind. That's the image that the US has portrayed for itself over the last 40, 50, 60 years or so, was it
Mhm.
since World War II, where it seemed to save the day. And it's like, why does there have to be one? It's
Control.
this like,
It's a
it's
control
all about
mechanism.
this idea that this is where, um Christian, a lot of Christians will just switch off, like, but why does there have to be one God? Right? There can be one.
You,
There can be, like,
you know why they
in
made
this.
one God? It's much easier to control a bunch of people if I get you to believe there's only one God. And at that point, I got one God for you people. I got one God for you people. And then I can start pitting you against each other because your God's not the real God. Oh, no, your God's not the real God. It's a great way to have
That's
control and start
I
wars.
mean, that's the biggest joke, because you've got Muslims, Christians, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Jews all fighting over the same,
No, my God's real. No, my
exactly the
God's real. No, your
same.
God's not real.
But they're all fighting over exact, like they even tell the same stories in their you know, in their scriptures. Their scriptures tell exactly the same stories, but it's about how they perceive each group, how it perceives the information that's been given to them, which
It's all
takes me
control
back to what I said
mechanisms.
about perception.
Yeah.
So perception is the key.
Yeah.
Really,
Absolutely.
if like I could put you in a locked cell and tell you that you have the key to get out of that cell, and there's on the table there's a, you know, there's a book and a pot of flowers, and I say, but the key is there, and you don't understand that the book is actually the key. You're looking for a key because you perceive a key to be a key, but the key is actually the book. It's just the, you know, how you perceive it. So
all I can say is that, why are we worshiping at all? If you're a God, which you are, why are you giving your power away? It's as simple as that. When you come to the point where you realize, wait a minute, there is no one above me. Don't take it as, and I think this was a twisting of words in that Bibles or whatever they were. They twisted the words. Never, what was that? Never worship a God above me, or something like this. More like, never worship because you are the God, is what it should be. And it got
don't
twisted.
don't put anyone or anything on a pedestal above yourself.
Right. And I
That you
think that's the
worship, that you
twisting.
bow down
I know
to.
that's the twisting. It's like, okay, so they took this, they twisted it like clay and molded it into something that was the complete opposite. And I believe the true saying was, never put another above yourself. You
I
are
mean, that's
God.
the thing is, I think that's the example that was set, where I get into not arguments, but I know that they don't like it when I say it about, you know, Jesus. The character was showing us, like, he was setting the example. He was leading by example, which is what all of us should be doing, leading by example. So, and he says in the book of Thomas, in the Gospel of Thomas, he says, if you can't believe in yourself, believe in me. What? So, as in, you and I are the same. If I can do it, you can do it. Like, I'm no different to you. We're brothers, and if I can do it, you can do it. So by standing up there and saying, don't, you know, don't put anybody above me, it's the royal me. You know, or like, yeah, don't put anybody above yourself.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah, the whole thing was, let's invent something so that these people could pray and worship to it to come in and save you. It's that whole save me,
Oh,
damsel in
wait, yeah,
distress
what?
mentality.
Which is the victim mentality,
Yeah, victim.
that you can't sort things out yourself. You have to, somebody else has to do it for you.
Yeah, you
Has to
know, no
save
way
you.
can you ever do anything for yourself. You need somebody else to do it for you. Let me do it for you, but in return, I own you. I'll tell you what to think. I'll tell you what to do. I'll tell you if you can live or not. I own you. And it's just, it's horrible. I think one of the reasons why they started doing the 2.0 human, which is the Homo Borg Genesis, was because they're losing us here. So they wanted to own us here. Because now they're trying to say that you're no longer Homo sapien sapien. So you don't have the rights of Homo sapien sapien. So now you are a tech because of what they put in you, which was tech, which had nothing to do with anything but another enslavement. Oh, now you're Homo Borg, Genesis. So we own you. We own that body of yours because it's no longer fully biological. It's synthetic now. And that synthetic part is our technology. I mean, they just keep going and going to a higher level of takeover, higher level. They're getting to the point now they want to take over your avatar, your mind. Since they had your mind for so long and they started losing it, that's when they came in with, let's take over their avatars now. It's terrible.
I mean, there's an important connection between the heart and the mind.
Yes, there is.
So if they can disconnect, they have to disconnect those two. And I think that the
I
way
call
they're
it
doing that
hardwashed and
is,
brainwashed.
yeah, they're doing
It's
that
a
through
disconnection.
technology, though.
Yeah, through technology. All I can say is humanity, wake up. People are starting to wake up. There's a governor in Florida. I can't remember his name because I'm so bad with names. He's
DeSantis?
finally, yeah, that's it. He's finally come
DeSantis.
out and said, okay, this is bioweaponry. We're at war. And you can't say that something was ever on a biological whatever when it's full of tech. That's a whole different thing. Of course, you know, you have crimes against humanity, which is the CICI, Reiner Fulmish. He's an international lawyer who has bound with many other lawyers in this snow globe trying to fight this. There are things now in the court to do something because, you know, slavery was abolished. And they're trying to bring it back now through tech. So,
I mean, that's a funny one. Slavery, technically, all that was abolished technically was unpaid slavery, like unwilling.
Yeah, because
unwilling,
we're still
unpaid
slaves.
slavery.
We're still slaves.
We're all
We're
still
slaves.
slaves, and we're accepting it by accepting. Oh yeah, okay. Well, you'll just pay me £7 an hour, or whatever. Then sign a contract.
Taxes is your biggest slavery. The fact that you can't even own or live in the house that you buy or land, the second you don't pay taxes, they come and take it all. That's slavery. Yeah. That's slavery.
Oh, the fact that you can buy your house, right? You get your house, you come into some money, inheritance, and you buy outright your house.
Yeah, right.
Buy it outright, and the land that it's sat on. And yet they'll still come after you for a properties tax. They'll still find shit that they can come after you for.
Here's even another one they've gone so far to do. You don't own your water rights or your mineral rights on your property. So now we can come in and we can tax your well. And if I want to dig an entire, I don't know, mine in your yard, I can do it. And if your house is in the way of me getting to the minerals, well, that's mine too. I mean, they have just wrote all kinds of shit in that we've agreed to. Well, we haven't agreed to it. No.
That's the thing, because it used to, you could buy, when you bought land, you could buy, when you, like, it would be in the deeds if you had the mineral rights or not. Because I know,
or water rights.
Theorus Apophysis, or I can never remember his name.
Ken Wheeler.
Ken Wheeler, the tattooed monkey. That's it. He bought his land. He bought his land with the water and mineral rights, didn't he? He's got all the rights on his land.
You have to when you buy your land. Why is that not a given? It's your land. Whatever's on it is yours. What are you actually owning? Every part of your land is a mineral. What are you buying then? Even the dirt has minerals in it. What are you buying?
Who was it that was talking about? Somebody I was listening to was talking about Russell J. Gould, this guy in America that's been talking, that I've been listening to. I've still got a lot of his stuff to watch, but because he does that, he's a little bit difficult. But I still think that there's some gold information that he's got. Just got to get, my ego's got to get past his over showmanship of it all, and self-important.
I know all about Russell Gould. I did some videos on him.
Right. What's your opinion of Russell Gould?
Okay. When I first
haven't seen your videos on him.
Okay. So a couple of my videos got taken down on him. Yeah, unbelievable, but yeah. So when I first saw him, I saw him coming in as somebody who was from the past, who created some of the stuff like the amendments or the Constitution, blah blah blah. There was in the Constitution there was a back door, and when he came back into this reality, he got thrown into learning about how to do a lot of this stuff because that's
And
why he
this is
came to
with
begin with.
this is all the flag stuff, yeah, like
Yes, yes.
claiming
So
ownership of the flag
yeah,
and the
but here's the
copyright of the
thing.
flag, because
The
he
thing
has done that, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. He
Uh,
has.
yeah,
Because it has to do with the East Indian Company. It all
yeah,
goes back to the original East Indian Company. They were the ones that came into this reality underground through
yeah.
shipping, blah, blah, blah. They came from under the ground. And after they came from under the ground, they developed the shipping because they already had the old technology. No problem. They could make ships, whatever. Um, Even if they were primitive, they still had the technology. And then would eventually we would go up to a certain thing.
The whole East India shipping thing is funny as well because it started with Victoria. It was a
Yeah.
British thing, and it was the Dutch
Mhm.
East India Trading Company, and they were worth 1.5 trillion or something
The
back
East
in the
Indian Company,
1800s.
yeah, the East Indian Company were the first original pirates. They
Yeah,
pirated this entire realm and
and
they made
drug dealers.
themselves
They were
legitimate, but
drug
they were
dealers.
the true pirates.
Yeah, they were basically the opium smugglers.
Yeah,
They were the ones
they
that,
did
yeah.
everything. They went to every country and thought, okay, how can we break this down? And the biggest breakdown was India. India was in such a wonderful state before they came in. And when they
India
came
was
in,
still.
they devastated India. Oh
I
boy,
think
did
India
they.
was still operating in
And Japan
sort
was
of.
the next one, and then China. They went to all
Mm.
these different countries and they were running in unison with each other where everyone mattered. There was no such thing as poor. Everyone got along and they destroyed
Well,
every country they went to.
there was caste, but it wasn't the same as it is now.
No.
It was like everybody had their place in society, but it was possible to change. It was possible to elevate up in caste depending on how you did what you did. You could
Mhm.
um the example that I remember was about you're a haraja, and then you have a child, you have a family, and you become maharaja because
Mhm.
you've
Yeah.
branched into
Yeah.
the next stage,
Yeah.
responsibilities and all of that.
Yeah.
um there was I remember a letter from a
Let me let my
lord.
cat out real quick, Richie. Hold on. Keep going.
Yeah,
I'm
go
gonna let
on.
my cat out. Come here.
I'll keep. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you. I just had to let
Oh,
the
right,
cat
yeah.
out.
So there was a lord, um, an English lord, who wrote a letter back to, I forget who it was. I think it was Queen Victoria, basically
Mhm.
saying how, in order to take control of India,
Mhm.
they were going to have to, like, it was the country was so rich in culture, and it was just the most beautiful place, opulent, and their education and everything. Like, they had such a strong grasp of who they were
Yeah.
and where they came
Yeah.
from. Their grasp of that was so strong. The only way they were going to take control was to decimate it and to take
That's right.
control of their education, and destroy their history. And that's
Yep.
what they did. They went in, they completely destroyed their history, disconnected them from their story, and
Mhm.
implemented, the the indoctrination that everybody else has been subject to. Giving them a completely false history,
Yeah.
and
It was a takeover. When they came up out of the ground, their one and only goal was they believed that these white people, because I hate to say it, they were white, believed that they were superior because of not losing the technologies. And so they
Mm.
came up, saw everything, wanted to control everything. Um, it's horrible. It's just horrible. It, I
I
mean, when
mean,
I go and I look at the motivation behind these people that came up from under the ground, they weren't all corrupt, but there was a handful of controllers that were always the
right.
controllers.
This is what I was going to say. That like they weren't. I don't think that
They weren't
they were
all
all bad
corrupt, but there was a
because we're not
handful.
all bad. I think
No,
it's this
no,
thing, and the reason that the bad always gets to the top in the end is because the dark side is willing to do things
that we're
that
not.
that good people are not willing to do.
That's it. I mean, when I look and see how the people came up from under the ground, they were under the ground, they were in caverns with buildings under there, and they were living on resources through recycling, and also there's immense water under the ground. Oh my gosh,
Mm.
rivers, oceans. You
There's
can grow
oceans under the
things.
ground.
Yeah, you can grow things.
Yeah.
There's also a different kind of a light source. It's not like what we have here, but there's a different kind of a light source, and everything grows. It's on
Mm.
a different level. It's like going down to a deep ocean, and you find life down there, and you would think because it's so ammonia filled nothing could survive, but everything is then ammonia based. It's kind of like that. It's not ammonia, but it's something else. And it took a
Yeah.
long time for these beings to even come up out of the ground, because it's a different atmosphere, it's a different light source, it's a different everything. And they were easily burned. They couldn't, it would damage their eyes, it would damage their skin, it would damage everything. So it took them generations and actually breeding through the ones above ground where they could actually stay above ground. And it didn't
It
happen
could be a reason why they're blanketing the sky all the time because they've reached the stage now, or we've reached the stage now where technology wise, where we're able to do it, where they're able
mm-hmm.
to basically coat. It's every sky. It's
Yeah,
every bloody sky now. You
it
watch
is. And
videos in
oh, I
it,
don't
like
even have
in the
to
middle
watch
of the
videos.
desert,
Yeah.
in the middle of or in America, or in India, or in Australia. It doesn't matter. The sky looks the same.
Well, when
Same
I was
net.
traveling, Richie, I got in a plane and traveled over to France, and we were up high above the one set of clouds, and even up above that you could barely see them. They were chemtrailing toward the
Yeah,
top of the
I
dome.
think they're doing that
So
with.
you
I
got
don't think
high
they're
altitude
manned.
chemtrailing and low
I think they're
altitude
unmanned.
chemtrailing.
I think they're unmanned drones that are
Yeah,
flying
they're
that
remote
high.
controlled drones. Yes, they are.
Yeah,
And they're
because they're
running
flying like
24/7, chemtrailing, 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 chemtrailing. I mean,
yeah.
we've got layers of this shit going on here. It's not just
Mm.
one layer.
Well, but when you go up in the plane, you can see it because you go past one layer and then you see, oh, hang on,
Mhm.
there's like another two layers of net above
Yeah,
that. How high
yeah,
do you have to go to actually get up to where the sun is?
yeah. And what is that sun? Because now they're sun simulators. I mean, we have
Yeah,
three suns. We really do. We have a black sun. We have the one that you see, and then we have the green sun, which is the aurora borealis, which comes up and down and from the earth and then up and then to the earth and then up. So that thing's on the rise now. And then you have all the multiple sun simulators, because where we are, even in this snow globe, we're only in a small section of it. There's a whole nother
mm,
section inside of this snow globe where the real sun just does this. And actually, there's two. Two of those suns. But then you got the black sun, and the black sun is black because of the light. And it's just, you know, it's crazy because when you go into the black, oh gosh, I've actually looked into the black sun, and the black sun has a different kind of heat. And normally the black sun is where the white sun isn't, because they're like they're like yin and yang, but they repel each other. They don't get drawn to each other. They actually repel each other. So you think they would do this, but they do this. It's like magnets that can't go together.
Like two south poles trying to on a magnet, like.
And it's screwing up our magnetics. This is why you've got the
Right.
circles going with the animals, and then the water it's going. It's from that black sun and that white sun. And I don't even know if anybody knows this stuff.
And is it? Do you think that's what causes the eclipse?
Yes.
Is the
It's not
black
the only
sun
thing.
going in front?
We have the black sun that does go in front of it too, but we also have, I don't know what you call them, moons. We have several dormant moons that are like, kind of like, they're not dead, but they're not glowing. I don't know what else to say. So between the black sun and then you've got those moons that you can't even see with your naked eye, they just don't get picked up. They're floating around up there too, and every now and then they'll go across the sun, and then you'll have,
I mean, I've got.
So you got more than one thing going on here.
It doesn't exist anymore because it got deleted with my channel, but I've got the video that YouTube doctored and deleted 15 minutes from, and it was the 15 minutes that contained the footage that proved my point. That said that the sun that I filmed over, not sun, moon, sorry. I was filming the moon over 3 days, and I did time lapses and stuff of its movement across the sky, and it proved, because of where the sun was each day, where the moon was each day, sorry, that it couldn't possibly be the same moon, because if it was, it would mean that moon changed speed.
That's right.
Like it would move really fast, and then it'd stop and slow down for a few hours, and it just didn't make any sense. It wasn't.
Now, Richie,
when you consider the
what
moon.
What is a moon?
Huh?
What is a moon? A moon is not what you think it is.
What we see, I mean, for one thing, I don't think that anybody could actually say that our moon is a moon because it's too big. It's like the size that they say it is, the size that it is in our sky. It's too big to be a moon. It's more like a planetoid. If the planets were real, if that actual model was real, it would be a planetoid. It wouldn't be a moon, because it's a tiny little planet.
Okay, I'm going to tell you something that's going to blow you out of the water. Recently, when I was looking into the North Pole star, and I saw that there was a part of it that's got like a bottom sheath on it. It's like crystal. It's just a smooth crystal, and on the top it looks like a disco ball. I realized that it's that bottom sheath part that causes a reflection of the entire snow globe onto the dome, and that's the plasma moon, and it's from that. It's the reflection of everything below it. Think of like a gazing ball when you look into it and you can see everything around you, but it's distorted.
which might explain why I forget who it is that took the moon and then flipped the colors basically, and so it actually looks like a map. It does look like a map, but it looks like a map of greater than. It's not like it's a map that our Earth is only a small section of, and the rest of that there's other land and whatever
now
being shown in that.
When I did that one video and I was talking about the North Star and Venus, and I said, well, I had this conversation with my father on Thanksgiving, and he had brought up about space and all this crap, and I'm like, oh God, okay. So I'm like, okay, my dad's 84 years old, and he just knows what he knows. And I started talking to him, and I'm like, Pop, you know that thing that you see above you, that planetarium? He goes, what are you talking about, that space? I'm like, yeah, that planetarium. Has it changed in, I don't know, 1,000 years, 2,000 years, 6,000 years? He's like, no. I'm like, well, If I went from point A at 68,000 miles an hour, like they say we're moving, and I went over 1,000 years to point B, why do I have the same perspective? It's like
Was
getting
then
in
a
your car.
parallax?
Yeah, it's like getting in your car, driving for 2 weeks, and you never left your driveway. Why does a sextant work for thousands of years if we're actually going through space at any miles an hour? It
Mm.
couldn't. A sextant, well, and I just ordered a sextant because I'm going to do some experiments. And I also ordered one of those sundials that's got a compass in it. So I'm going to
Mm.
use that. And I'm going to use my sextant and I'm going to start doing some mathematics. And I'm also going to do it over years, thousands of years. And you'll realize we have gone nowhere. This thing in front of us, above us, this, you're in a
It's a
planetarium.
projection.
Yes,
It's like a
yes.
projection, yeah.
There's no way that a sextant is going to ever work for thousands and thousands of years if you're truly moving through any spectrum of a reality. No, not going to happen. Never.
Yeah.
So I
And
was talking to my dad about this, Richie, and he was just like, he was so dumbfounded and he was speechless because it finally clicked in his head. Holy shit. And I said, Pop, what are you really in? Where are we really? And that's when he's like, well, we can count on one thing. Who died for you? I said, nobody's died for me, oh man. And then he goes to
well,
a religion that he doesn't even believe in.
the thing, people are terrified as soon as they leave the box. They're terrified by the expanse and the complete. We've got no idea what's outside of the box really because we've been stuck in the box for so long,
Mm-hmm.
and so they'll see another box and they go, "Oh, jump in that box," because people feel safe with a paradigm. People feel safer with a paradigm that they can relate to or they can recognize
Mm-hmm.
because the
Everyone needs to start thinking out of the damn parameters, the box.
outside the box. We've always been taught. We've always been taught that, and never really realised what it meant. If you got to think outside the box, man.
Because you're stuck in one.
Yeah, and that again links back to perception.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I say, and that goes to what I say about the importance of words becoming labels, and then labels being stuck on things. Because I say box, and everybody immediately, I would imagine nine out of 10 people are thinking of a cardboard box, or some form of box, but
When I
or
say box, I'm
a
talking about the
cuboid.
perimeter. Yeah, when I say box, I'm not talking about a physical six-sided box. I'm
No.
talking about the lockdown of your brain. You're in your little brain, get out of it. You need to go further than that. Crack that pea brain of yours and let's start expanding.
Mm. And it's fear that stops people from doing that. It's
It
totally
is fear.
100%
It's
fear that
fear of the
stops people.
unknown. It's
Yeah.
fear. What's the worst that's going to happen? So you learn something new. So you're doing
Or
something else.
they cling to or resort to or revert to um religious
Yeah, that's
religious
their next foundation that they
dogma
just
that
know
says
you can't undo.
because and what is that at the end of the day?
Mm-hmm.
It's fear.
Yeah,
They're saying, "Oh no, what?" Because you're scared that God's going to punish you.
yeah.
You're scared that because you made the wrong choice, that God's going to damn your soul to hell for eternity for something that you did wrong
Ridiculous.
in this life.
I might
That
have to change
you
this.
weren't sure if you did it wrong or not because
Yeah.
of the amount of misinformation that we're flooded with.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I don't know. It's really a shame when I come across people and they're so indoctrinated into their different dogmas and you try to give things. My thing is that I try to put everything down into layman's terms so you can understand it, I can understand it, there's no misunderstanding here. So I think of analogies that could correlate with our reality. And when I do that and it finally hits them, oh shit, I can't pretend not to know it anymore. It forces them to in an uncomfortable acknowledgement that something is amiss here and it's not quite right.
It's
Yeah.
analogies are a really, really good way of. I love analogies. I love using analogies. A way to communicate without using specific words.
Yeah.
It's a really good way to communicate, and I think really that's what the scriptures and stuff were. You know, it's like we were telling stories, particularly anything that's come from any teacher. They weren't just saying it directly, because you can't communicate things properly to people if you say it directly. But we've been indoctrinated into reading things as, you know, like wrong. We read things completely wrong.
Yeah. Okay, Richie, I might have to get going.
All right, no worries. Yeah, we've been going for 1 hour and 36 minutes, so no worries at all. Thank you very much, Sonia. We've had a great
Richie,
chat.
for having me. I enjoy talking to you. You know I do.
I'm terrible with my chat room, right? I never really. I should pick out there. I'm so engaged in our conversation now. I sit and I look. I'm watching the chat, but I'm not. I don't want to. Anyway, shout out to the chat room. We've got an awesome chat room. Hippie Shake, No One's Flower, Mike Zone, Brian Evans, Jim Eldred. Jim Eldred, good to see you again, mate. Hippie Shake, and there was a couple of names I didn't recognise as well in here. That I don't know if I think they've come from your channel. Susie Fairfield, Mike Zone. I think that's a Jew. M's Man World. Hey, I'll tell you what, babe. This is just my chat with Sonia. But if you want to go live, then we can go live after this. So Sonia's got to go.
Yeah.
We'll bring it. I'll end this stream, and then I'll start up another one, and you can come on and have a chat if you want, babe.
All right.
But yeah, Sonia, thank you very much, darling. It's been a pleasure as always.
Richie, it was fun. We'll do it again.
We'll do it again.
All right, bye,
babe.
everyone. I don't see the chat.
Have a good day.
So on my phone, I don't have a chat, so I don't know who's there except for what you said.
It is possible to see it, but you have to come off the camera. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass on your phone.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it. All right. Bye, everyone.
Right. Take care. See you later, Sonia.
Bye.
All right, guys. So that's Sonia's testament, the tree of knowledge. Let me get her channel up. Hang on. Actually, Hippie Shake, you did actually put a link in, didn't you? Hippie Shake put a link in the chat. So there's a link for Sonia's channel in the chat, and I'll put a link in the description. And come back to you guys. Yeah. Other than that, yeah, that was a wonderful chat, and we'll do it again soon. Give me 5 minutes, all right, and I'll send you a link in Signal, all right. But for now, thank you very much, peeps, and remember, oh, where's it gone? Just looking for my video. Hang on. Yeah, remember. Never forget.
The higher you build your barriers, the taller I become. take my rights away, the faster I will run. You can deny me, you can decide to turn your face away. No matter, 'cause there's something inside so strong. I know that I can make it, though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. You thought that my pride was gone. Oh no, something inside so strong. Oh, something inside so strong. The more you refuse to hear my voice, the louder I will sing. Jericho, our lies will come tumbling. Deny my place and time, you squander wealth that's mine. My light will shine so brightly it will blind you, 'cause there's something inside so strong, so strong. I know that I can make it, though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. You thought that my pride was gone. Oh no, there's something inside so strong. Oh, something inside so strong. Brothers and sisters, when they insist we're just not good enough, but we know better, just look them in the eyes and say, we're gonna do it anyway, gonna do it anyway. Something inside so strong, and I know that I can make it, though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. Oh, that my pride was gone. Oh no, there's something inside so strong.